Namasarvebhyaha Sarvesham Hardam Swagadam. We will start the class by chanting the Mangala Stotram. Krishno Rakshadu Manchara Chara Guruhu Krishnan Namasyamyakam Krishnena Marashatravo Vinikataha Krishnaya Tasmai Namaha Krishna Deva Samuthidan Jagadidam Krishnasya Dasosmyakam Krishne Bhakti Rajanjalastu Bhagavan He Krishna Tubhyan Namaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Panaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gita Mritatuhe Namaha Vasudeva Sutan Devam Kamsa Chanura Martanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnau Vande Jagat Gurum. Sarvesham Punaswagadam. We'll start from this 31st sloka. Anaditwan nirgunatvat paramatmayam avyayaham sharirasthopi kaunteya nakaroti na lipyate. So here, without beginning, anadi, without beginning, anaditvat nirgunatvat. That is without qualities, without gunas. That is this supreme self, Paramatmayam Abhyayaha. That is supreme self is indestructible. Abhyayaha means indestructible. This supreme Brahman or supreme self is indestructible. And though residing in the body, Shariras Thopi Kaunteya. Kaunteya means O Kunti's son, Kunti's putra. Though it is residing in the body, it neither acts, na karoti, na lipyate, nor is it tainted or affected by anything. Na karoti, it is existing in the sharira, but still it doesn't act, and it does not get tainted also. So here, as we are coming to a close of this chapter, Sri Krishna is trying to explain the Supreme Self, the nature of Supreme Self. So he wants to clear doubts and misconceptions about Supreme Self. So if Prakriti is without beginning and Supreme Self is also without beginning, Prakriti also is Anadi, that is without beginning. That's what we had earlier also we have seen. Anadi, we have seen in the Shlokas, in the Shloka, Prakritim Purushancheva Vidyanadi Upavapi. So Supreme Self as well as Prakriti, both are without beginning. So what makes them different? What is the difference between Prakriti and the Supreme Self? So here, Bhagavan says the difference is caused by whether they have gunas or not. Prakriti is nothing but gunas. So it is no beginning is there, but it is full of gunas, and the Supreme Self is the guna. That is, there is no guna in that. This is the difference. So that is, it is different from Prakriti. So Prakriti is always changing, perishing, but Supreme Self is always imperishable. So does the Supreme Self affected by actions and reactions of Prakriti? Is the Supreme Self, whether it getting guna, that is nalipyate, whether it is getting affected by the reaction? Supreme Self, Bhagavan says, it does not. Supreme Self is not affected by whatever happens in the Prakriti. Supreme Self, due to ignorance, identifies with the body. Due to ignorance, it identifies with the body, a product of Prakriti. This body is a product of Prakriti only. So the Supreme Self is identifying with the body, and this is referred to in Shlokas resides in the body. Sharirasthopi kaunteya. That is why it is residing in the body. Sharirasthopi kaunteya. So, but as a Supreme Self has nothing to do with Prakriti. So nakaroti na lipyate. It doesn't get affected. It doesn't get tainted. So it doesn't become neither a doer nor an enjoyer of any action. But due to identification with the body, Supreme Self assumes it is doer and enjoyer. Since it gets identified with the body, it assumes it is doer and enjoyer. But since identification is fake only, so it doesn't ever get identified with the body. So Supreme Self never gets affected by actions and reactions of Prakriti. So now we have slowly understood what is Supreme Self and what is Prakriti. Supreme Self never gets, it's always imperishable and unchangeable, whereas Prakriti is full of gunas. It is perishable and is changeable. So, but the Supreme Self, since it is in the body, it assumes it is doer and enjoyer, but actually it is not getting affected. That's what Bhagavan says here. We'll continue.
Anita Bhagini.
Anaditwan nirgunatvat.
Hare Krishna. Anaditva trigunatva. Anaditva trigunatva.
Paramatmayam avyayah.
Paramatma meya vyaya. Paramatma vyaya vyaya.
Sharirasthopi kaunteya.
Sarirosthitopi kaunteya. Sarirosthitopi kaunteya.
Nakaroti na lipyate.
Na karoti na lipyate. Na karoti na lipyate.
Uttam.
Nandini Bhagini.
Anaditvam triguణatvam. Paramatma maya vyayaya hi. Sarirosthitopi kaunteya. Na karoti na lipyate.
Uttam. Dhanyavad.
Malini Bhagini.
Anaditwan nirgunatvat.
Anaditva nirgunatvat. Anaditva nirgunatvat.
Paramatmayam avyayah.
Paramatmayam avyayah. Paramatmayam avyayah.
Sharirasthopi kaunteya.
Sharirasthopi kaunteya. Sharirasthopi kaunteya.
Nakaroti na lipyate.
Nakaroti na lipyate. Nakaroti na lipyate.
Uttam. Well chanted.
Thank you, sir.
Rema Shriram Bhagini.
Anaditwan nirgunatvat. Paramatmayam avyayah.
Anaditvan nirgunatvat. Paramatmayam avyayah. Anaditvan nirgunatvat. Paramatmayam avyayah.
Sharirasthopi kaunteya. Nakaroti na lipyate.
Sharirasthopi kaunteya. Nakaroti na lipyate. Sharirasthopi kaunteya. Nakaroti na lipyate.
Uttam.
Gholak Mahodaya.
Anaditwan nirgunatvat. Paramatmayam avyayah.
Anaditvan nirgunatvat. Paramatmayam avyayah. Anaditvan nirgunatvat. Paramatmayam avyayah.
Sharirasthopi kaunteya. Nakaroti na lipyate.
Sharirasthopi kaunteya. Nakaroti na lipyate. Sharirasthopi kaunteya. Nakaroti na lipyate.
Uttam.
Dhanyavad.
Lakshmi HS Bhagini.
Anaditwan nirgunatvat. Paramatmayam avyayah. Sharirasthopi kaunteya. Nakaroti na lipyate.
Anaditva nirgunatvat. Paramatmayam avyayah. Sharirasthopi शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय न करोति न लिप्यते.
Uttam. Well said.
Meenakshi Ramurthy Bhagini.
अनादित्वान् निर्गुणत्वात् परमात्मायमव्ययः शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय न करोति न लिप्यते.
Uttam.
Sapna Bhagini.
अनादित्वान् निर्गुणत्वात् परमात्मायमव्ययः शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय न करोति न लिप्यते.
Uttam. We'll go to the next sloka. Yatha sarvagadam saukshmyad akashanopalipyate sarvatravasthito dehe tathatmanopalipyate. So here, just as all-pervading space, yatha sarvagatam saukshmyad, the just akasham nopalipyate. So all-pervading, sarvagatam space, all-pervading space is subtle, is very subtle. You can't, it's not visible. It's not visible. And it is not tainted. The space is not tainted. It doesn't get, cannot get affected by anything that is put into it. Similarly, so is the self. Sarvatravasthito dehi. So is the self situated everywhere in a body. Sarvavasthito dehi. Everywhere in a body. Tathatma nopalipyate. So though it is, this is space, everywhere it is there. Sarvavasthito dehi, in body, everywhere it is there, but it doesn't get tainted. It doesn't get tainted. So here, what Bhagavan says is, from a lot of scriptures, it is said that elements are created. Initially, 5 elements are created. We saw Panchaputas, the Akasha, Vayu, Jalam, that is water, earth, etc., and fire, etc. So in that, the first to be created was the space. Space was the first created. And then came air, and then came fire, and then came water, and finally earth came. So these are the 5 elements. So which you see, each is more tangible and visible. So from Akasha, air, fire, water, earth, more tangible and visible. We can see them. Tangible means you can feel it. You can feel it. So it has become more and more tangible and visible. So, but Akasha was first created. So it is the subtlest thing. Its property is invisibility. You can't see it. So that is its property. Space cannot be, and also space cannot be limited by an upadhi. You can construct in a building, you can construct rooms, etc. But you cannot divide the space. Space cannot be divided. Even if you construct many rooms, you cannot contain the space. Space is there everywhere. So similarly, another property is that it is not affected by anything that it contains. Space doesn't is not affected by anything that it contains. So the air in the room may be affected. The air in the room may be affected by perfume or odor. It can get affected, but not the space. Space cannot be affected. So space provides existence to everything. Without space, nothing can exist. So space provides everything. Doesn't get tainted. This is suppressed. It cannot. It is not visible. Similarly, SK says self is similar to space. Our self is similar to space, or the supreme self is similar to space. Self cannot be divided into rooms. That is, like space, like self is one. Self is one, but appears as though residing differently in different bodies. Just like rooms cannot divide space, the different bodies, self exists in different bodies, so self cannot be divided. Self cannot be tainted by reactions, results, experiences of any action. So all actions and reactions are in the realm of Prakriti only. Says the self doesn't get tainted at all. So how should we bring this teaching in our life? So all of us are craving for independence of one form or the other. Like one person maybe want to become independent financially, so he works towards that and he accumulates wealth and becomes financially independent. Like that, we want to become independent in many aspects. So once we know the self in us, once we know that self is existing, it is totally unaffected by all the actions and reactions and experience of the world. When we realize that our self is there, it doesn't get tainted, it does get affected by all what is happening in the world. So we have got the highest level of independence. So our self is there. It is not affected by anything. It is the highest form of independence we get. So which is moksha. So once you have realized ourself, that becomes moksha. Our independence, we get our full independence. That we are free. What's happening outside is don't affect us. So we are free. We get moksha. So just work to remove ignorance of our true nature. Our true nature is not our reactions or our actions or anything, but just realize, remove all the our wrong notions about our true nature. That we have seen how we can have to remove those all that we have seen, so many attributes we have seen. So by that you remove all your misconceptions, ideas, and realize your true nature by disassociating with Prakriti and associating with Ishvara. Ishvara, you remove all your misconceptions or misidentification of Prakriti and attain moksha. This is what Bhagavan says here in this sloka. So here Bhagavan is trying to compare this space with ourselves. Like space cannot be divided, self also cannot be divided. Space cannot be affected, tainted. Our self also cannot be tainted by anything that's happening outside. This again, Bhagavan is making it clear, more and more clear, what is self. So we'll continue.
Vatsala Bhagini.
Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyad.
Yata sarvagatam saukshmyat. Yata sarvagatam saukshmyat.
Akashanopalipyate.
Akashanopalipyate. Akashanopalipyate.
Lipyate.
Lipyate.
No pakara. No palipyate.
Akashanopalipyate.
First pa. No palipyate.
Akashanopalipyate. Nopalipyate.
It is not third ba, it is first pa. First.
Nopalipyate.
Yes. Yeah, are you listening as no palipyate?
Okay.
I'm listening like, am I pronouncing like that?
Nopalipyate.
Okay. Sarvatravasthito dehe.
Sarvatravastito dehe. Sarvatravastito dehe.
Tathatmanopalipyate.
Tadatmanopalipyate. Tadatmanopalipyate.
Same thing only. Nopalipyate, same thing only here. We cannot have.
Nopalipyate.
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 Please, ma'am, you have to correct yourself on this pa and ba, etc. You have to be clear, very clear about it.
Tadatmanopalipyate.
No. You are still pronouncing not correctly. Okay, practice.
Nopalipyate.
Okay, I will practice. We listen to what others are chanting.
Okay.
Padma Jagan Bhagini.
Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyad.
यथा भूतपृथक् यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात्
Akashanopalipyate.
आकाशं नोपलिप्यते आकाशं नोपलिप्यते
Sarvatravasthito dehe.
सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे
tathatmanopalipyate.
तथात्मानोपलिप्यते तथात्मानोपलिप्यते
Uttam.
इलवरसी भगिनी
यथा सर्वगदं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते.
यथा यथा सर्वगतं
सौक्ष्म्यात्.
ओके सौक्ष्म्यात् यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते
सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते.
सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते
उत्तमम्.
विनोदा भगिनी
यथा सर्वगदं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते.
यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते
सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते.
सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते
उत्तमम्.
रघुनाथ महोदय
यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते.
यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्याद् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते
उत्तमम्.
धन्यवादः
सपना भगिनी
यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते
उत्तमम्.
धन्यवादः।
प्रेमा श्रीराम भगिनी
यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशन्नोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते.
Uttam. We'll go to the next sloka. So here, yatha prakashayatyeekah krishnallokamimam ravihi kshetrang kshetri tatha krishnam prakashayati bharata. So yatha. So like in the previous example, we compared space, self with space. So here, just as the one sun illumines the entire world, yatha prakashayatyekaha krishnallokamimam ravihi. Krishnalloka means the entire world is illumined by one ravi, ekaha ravihi. By one sun, the whole world is illumined. So does the knower of the field. Kshetram, kshetri. Kshetri is knower of the field. Kshetram is our, we have said, kshetram, all this prakriti, whatever is there, 24 elements you have seen. Kshetrang, kshetri, tatha krishnam. The entire field, the entire field, prakashayati bharata. That is, so does the knower of the field illumines the entire field, O Bharata. Knower of the field illumines the entire field, O Bharata. Just like sun illumines the entire, one sun illumines the entire world, one knower of the field will illumine the entire field. So space example we have seen unaffected and untainted nature of self. And in this example, the sun example is used to highlight actionless nature of the self. First was that is unaffected, untainted nature, and this is the actionless nature of the sun. Sun, millions of miles away, enables life on this earth. Everything happening in this world is due to sun's energy. So sun never acts. All actions that happen in our planet are distinct and separate from sun. Whatever happens in the planet is nothing to do with sun. Sun is not acting. Sun is actionless. But everything is happening in the earth. Earth as well as in other planets also, other planets, etc. is happening. So self in I is similar to sun. Our self in our I is similar to sun. The self knower of the field, the Kshetrajna, knows the actions taking place in the Kshetra. Knows the actions taking place in the Kshetra, the field or body. It knows what's happening there, which is part of Prakriti. Body, everything, Kshetra, etc., all are part of Prakriti. And the self knows what is taking place there. Self does not take on the notion of doership in the actions of the body. Neither does it get differentiated due to differences, modifications of Prakriti, just like sun. So self is always just watching the observer, and body is doing all the actions in the Prakriti. If self is the knower of all the actions in our body, how does our intellect know things? So self is knower of all actions and it doesn't take part. So how does our intellect know the things? So with respect to the sun analogy, we can see the intellect can be compared to a pool of water. A pool of water that reflects the light of the sun. A pool of water reflects the light of the sun. Similarly, the intellect is just an instrument that functions due to the knowledge of the self. Intellect that is with us, it is functioning due to the knowledge of the self. If intellect is calm and steady, it works perfectly. And in interpreting the information sent to it from the mind and the senses. The mind and senses gather the information and they send it to the intellect. So the intellect will, if it is clean and it is pure and it is without any movement, it accepts everything as it is. Otherwise, it will distort the information. So if it is agitated or dull, it cannot work perfectly. Just like the sun's reflection is disturbed or distorted when the pool of water is agitated or muddy. So intellect will function perfectly when it is clear and it is pure. So Sri Krishna asserts that the self is of the nature of Chit, that is the intellect. Self is just like the Chit, that is perfect and pure. It is knowledge, awareness, and consciousness personified. It is full of knowledge, conscience, and awareness. Chit is also that, but Chit can get agitated due to its identification with the body. But if it is kept without any, without getting reactions or this thing, it will be pure and it will reflect. It will be able to function in the most appropriate way. So this is what Bhagavan says here. So just like the sun, this is also actionless. Only it is Chit is getting all those information. Chit is acting, or our intellect is acting as a tool for us to recognize what is happening outside, and also to understand it, become aware of all those things. So this is what Bhagavan says here. We'll continue.
Pushpa Bhagini.
Yatha prakashayatyekah.
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः
कृत्स्नलोकमिमं रविः
कृष्णल्लोकमिमं रविः कृष्णल्लोकमिमं रविः
Kshetrang kshetri tatha kritsnam.
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं
Here it is dirgha here. Kshetrang kshetri tatha kritsnam.
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं
Yes.
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं
Prakashayati bharata.
प्रकाशयति भारत प्रकाशयति भारत
Uttam.
धन्यवाद
देवी चित्रा भगिनी
Yatha prakashayatyekah.
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः
Krishnalokamimam ravihi.
कृष्णल्लोकमिमं रविः कृष्णल्लोकमिमं रविः
Kshetrang kshetri tatha kritsnam.
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं
Prakashayati bharata.
प्रकाशयति भारत प्रकाशयति भारत
Uttam.
धन्यवाद
अणावती भगिनी
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृष्णलोकमिमं रविः.
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृष्णयो लोकमिमं रविः तथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृष्णलोकमिमं रविः
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति भारत.
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं प्रकाशयति भारत क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं प्रकाशयति भारत
उत्तम.
मालिनी भगिनी
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृष्णलोकमिमं रविः.
मालिनी भगिनी
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृत्स्नल्लोकमिमं रवि यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृत्स्नल्लोकमिमं
रविः.
रविः
क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति भारत.
मालिनी भगिनी
क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति भारत
उत्तम.
घोलप महोदय
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृष्णलोकमिमं रविः क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति भारत.
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृत्स्नल्लोकमिमं रविः क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति भारत.
उत्तम.
धन्यवाद.
इलवरसी भगिनी
यथा प्रकाशयत् एकः कृष्णल्लोकमिमं रविः क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृष्णं प्रकाशयति भारत.
उत्तम.
हेमा भगिनी
यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृत्स्नल्लोकमिमं रविः क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति भारत.
उत्तम. नेक्स्ट श्लोक. क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् antaranyana chakshusha bhuta prakriti mokshancha ye vituryanti te param. So here, those who ye vituryanti, those with the eye of wisdom, jnana chakshusha, eye of wisdom, perceive, viduhu, those who perceive with the eye of wisdom the distinction between field and its knower. Kshetra kshetratnyayorevam antaram. That is the distinction between the field and its knower in this manner. Evam, this manner, they and they get deliverance of beings from Prakriti. Bhuta Prakriti Mokshancha. So the deliverance of beings from the Prakriti, they attain the Supreme. Te Param, Vidur Yanti Te Param, they attain the Supreme. So those who in this way, with the eye of wisdom, they understand or realize the difference between Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the distinction between them, and get relieved or delivered, or they get deliverance of beings from Prakriti, from these actions of Prakriti. They get freed from these things. They attain the Supreme. This is what Bhagavan says here. So Bhagavan says here the two case, that is the Kshetra and Kshetrajna, should be studied earnestly and distinction to be made very clear. What is Kshetra and what is Kshetrajna? So after having understood real nature of self, the ignorant nature we are in, our real nature is self nature, but we are ignorantly we are identifying with the body, and our ignorant nature, also in knowing the method to remove ignorance. That also we have seen in this, the method to remove ignorance. What is the result? So Sri Krishna asserts that one who has removed the ignorance through knowledge attains supreme from the Prakriti cycle. Key to understanding here is viveka or discrimination. That is the power to discriminate what is Kshetra, what is Kshetrajna. So that is very intelligently we should distinguish them, so that we will be clear of all the confusions. Will be clear of that. So that is why Bhagavan says that this chapter starts with idam sharirang kaunteya kshetramitya vidhiyate. That's what we say. Idam shariram. That is, this is the body. Like that, we start this chapter. So that's why we should find out the difference between the kshetram and etadyo vetitam prahuhu kshetratnya iti tadvidaha. So kshetram, kshetratnya, the difference we should clearly understand, and the ability to separate the real from the unreal is discrimination, and which is the eye of the wisdom mentioned here. So one who knows how to conduct his life in a manner such that he can distinguish between the unreal and real aspects, the field and the knower, Kshetram and Kshetrajna, Purusha and Prakriti, and learn to see the imperishable in the perishable. Vinashyatsu avinashyantam. Vinashyatsu avinashyantam. The imperishable, the perishable as Ishvara. The imperishable is Ishvara. Such a person is freed from the mechanism of Prakriti. He is freed from this, and he this is the goal of Jnana Yoga, summarized in the 13th chapter. So we will be able to attain this goal if we bring the teaching of this chapter into life through constant reflection and meditation. We'll be able to get over this. It is possible. Bhagavan says it is possible by constant, but very intelligently understanding the distinctions and then following the putting everything, considering everything as Ishvara. We'll be able to get over this. Bhagavan says here. So we'll continue here.
Vatsala Bhagini.
Kshetra kshetrajnayorevam
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवं क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम्
अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा
अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा
भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षञ्च
भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षञ्च भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षञ्च
ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्
ये वितुर्यान्ति ते परम् ये वितुर्यान्ति ते परम्
उत्तम
देवी चित्रा भगिनी
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम्
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवं क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम्
here kshetra there is one dittam here, like here bhuta prakriti mokshancha, here also there will be dittam will be there, here also kshetrajnayorevam
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवं क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम्
antarajnana-chakshusha
अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा
chakshusha
चक्षुषा
chakshusha
चक्षुषा
bhuta prakriti mokshancha
भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षञ्च भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षञ्च
ye viduryanti te param
ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम् ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्
उत्तम
पुष्पा भगिनी
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा
See here kshetra we told just now we told this is we pronounced
क्षेत्र महोदय
this is ditvam kshetra
क्षेत्र क्षेत्र
yes
but in my book it is क्षेत्र महोदय
but you have to have a ditvam there, though it is that we have not marked here, but you have to make a ditvam there. Kshetrajnayorevam
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम्
yes
अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा
उत्तम bhuta prakriti mokshancha ye viduryanti te param
भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम् भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्
उत्तम
इलवरसी भगिनी
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा
भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षञ्च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्
भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम् भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्
उत्तम
विनोदा भगिनी
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षञ्च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्
उत्तम
धन्यवाद
मीनाक्षी भगिनी
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च
ये विदुर्यान्ति परम्
उत्तमम्
हेमा भगिनी
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरञ्ज्ञानचक्षुषा भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्
उत्तमम् वेल् सेड्
रघुनाथ महोदय
क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरज्ञानचक्षुषा भूत प्रकृति मोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्
उत्तमम् we'll continue
धन्यवाद
yes
लक्ष्मी एच.एस. भगिनी
ॐ तत्सदिति
ॐ तत्सदिति ॐ तत्सदिति
श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु
श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु
उपनिषत्सु
उपनिषत्सु
ब्रह्मविद्यायां
ब्रह्मविद्यायां
योगशास्त्रे
योगशास्त्रे
श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे
श्रीकृष्णार्जुन
क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञ विभागयोगो नाम
क्षेत्रज्ञविभागयोगो नाम
त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः
त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः
उत्तमम्
धन्यवाद
सपना भगिनी
ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्याया योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञ विभागयोगो नाम त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः
ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञविभागयोगो नाम त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः
उत्तम
हेमा भगिनी
ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञविभागयोगो नाम त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः
Uttam, well channeled, Bhavani. So
Thank
we have completed the 13th chapter, which is, I think, is a very important chapter. Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhagaha. I hope we have understood what it is. Tomorrow we will do the Parayanam of the entire chapter. Everybody can participate and chant the entire chapter, 13th chapter. So, atra samapayamaha. Will conclude with the Shanti mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. धन्यवादः पुनर्मिलामः राम राम राम
धन्यवाद महोदय
धन्यवादः महोदय
धन्यवादः